What's up, people? Welcome back. I hope everyone had a great New Year's and are ready to take 2021 on head first.
Yeah.
I apologize for being a horrible YouTuber and not uploading a video in like 4 years, but it is what it is. I'm sorry. I'll try to be better. New Year's resolution: actually make videos. Speaking of New Year's, that's kind of what we're going to talk about today a little bit, is 2020. And I think a lot of people are having a difficult time looking back on 2020 and finding the ability to see the good in it. Now, I'm totally aware that 2020 was sucky for a lot of reasons. People lost their jobs and their lives, and there's been so much political unrest and craziness, and there were almost killer hornets. Remember those? Thank you, Jesus, for not sending the killer hornets. This year was challenging, to put it nicely, but I strongly encourage you to not look back on 2020 and think of it as like this horrible year that was a total waste. Like, so many people were counting down the days until New Year's. They're like, oh, I just can't wait for 2021. I just want a fresh start. I wish 2020 would be over. And unfortunately, I don't think it really works that way. I don't think there's some magic switch that went off when the clock hit midnight on December 31st and the universe or God, whatever, was just like, yay! No more horrible things. 2021's here. It's all going away now. I heard a piece of advice recently from guess who? Sadie Robertson Huff, my girl. And it basically said, when you can't change the situation you're in, change your attitude. And that's so applicable for anyone, no matter where you are in your life. Like, for example, if your car breaks down on your way to work and then you're late and you have to go pay a bunch of money to get it fixed, you could either dwell in the anger that caused you, or you could move on and say, God, please help me to somehow find joy in this situation. Now, that's not to say when something crappy happens to you that you have to be happy and go lucky about it 24/7. Like, there's a time for righteous anger. That's something else that Sadie talked about. Like, it's not a sin to be angry, but it's a sin to dwell in that anger and let it kind of ruin like a perfectly good day that God gave you. That's actually something I struggle with a lot. Like, I'm so easy to, could be because I'm a girl, but like my mood can just change like this, and I could go from being a perfectly good mood to absolutely horrible. Like, for example, if I wake up, ow, my elbow. Like, if I wake up and I see that my room is messy, or if I remember that I have something to do that day that I don't want to do, like, that instantly can almost ruin my day. And I think a lot of people are like that, which is really sad, because I feel like a lot of our lives are almost wasted away in unnecessary bad moodiness. I don't know if that's a word. It's definitely not a word, but we're gonna roll with it. In a nutshell, yes, 2020 was very difficult, but I encourage you to not look back on it and think of it as a sucky year, but rather look back on it and think of all the opportunities that God gave you to grow. Like, I think I've talked about this in my videos in the past, but we can't grow unless we're in an uncomfortable situation. Like, it's the same thing when any living thing grows. Like, if your arm or your legs are growing when you're a kid, you have growing pains. Like, it hurts to change. And a lot of people were hurting this year, so therefore there is a lot of opportunity to better yourself as a person. Everything that God placed in our lives this year, challenging or not, was there for a reason. So you might as well take 2020 for the good and not for the bad. Now, along with talking about 2020, I also want to talk about 2021. And I'm sure a lot of you probably feel the same way, and this doesn't matter if you were upset about how the election went this year, or if you're not, or not even, it could not even be about politics in general, it could just be about the state of our world. But I am really, really scared right now, and I think a lot of people feel the same way. Like I said, that could be about the future of our nation, like the future of our government leaders. It could be just about the social issues that we're facing right now. It could be about anything, but there's just so much uncertainty, and I think it's so easy to live just in a state of fear and anxiety right now, and it's kind of hard. Like, as I said, this applies to anybody, but for me, like, I'm almost 20 years old. Like, right now, I'm thinking about, like, my kids' future. Like, what kind of world are they gonna grow up in? Are they gonna have a world to grow up in? Like, things are so crazy right now. I know people talk about the end times, which is crazy. I'm not saying that I think that's gonna happen. I have no idea. We're told not to freak out about that because only God knows, but, like, it makes you think, you know? It's kind of funny because as I'm talking about this right now, I have this little thing up on my shelf. It's backwards, so you can't read it. But it says, God does not give us the spirit of fear. I literally just read that. That's kind of cool. I know I said this. We cannot assume that the world is going to end. It could not. Nobody knows. Nobody knows, but we're fools if we aren't preparing for it, you know? And that can be super overwhelming, you know? You could take that as like, oh my gosh, like, I'm only 19, like, my life, like, I don't want that to happen yet. Like, I want to live, I want to do all the things. Like it says in the Bible, you don't know when the Lord is coming, so, like, always be diligent, always be prepared for it. And for me, and for, I'm sure a lot of you too, like I said, that it's super scary to think about that for a number of reasons, but it's also easy if you think about it in the mindset of, like, God's on my side, so literally what could stand against me? Nothing. When you have that mindset, it doesn't matter if you're, like, thinking about the end of the world or the safety of your family or getting a disease or whatever. It doesn't matter, because if God's on your side, then you're pretty much set to go. And another thing that Sadie was talking about in one of her podcasts that I was listening to is our generation right now, like my generation, the younger generation, it gets a lot of bad rep, and I guess kind of rightfully so. Like, there's definitely lots of issues going on in our youth right now. But one thing she was talking about is we have so much potential. Like, for example, if there's any, like, older people watching this, older than me, I guess that's not really that old, but you guys, you older people, you didn't grow up with the opportunity to reach out to thousands of people at once. Like, you never had social media, and obviously, like I said before, social media gets a really bad rap. But if we use it for good, like, if we can convince an entire generation of people to start using it for good, can you imagine? Like, that's what's going to lead to the evangelization of the entire world. And that's crazy to me. My family just got home, so sorry if there's lots of weird noises. Ignore it. I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to happen. But all I know is it's our job to make sure that as many people know about Jesus before that happens as possible. And what a better opportunity to do that than to use social media to get the word out to people. And speaking of social media, I know that there's a lot of people right now that are deleting it and stuff, which I'm not for deleting it, and I'm not against it. There's a lot of kind of sketchy things happening with it right now that I don't really understand, and I don't know if it makes me a bad person to keep it or not. I don't know. But until they tell me, hey, you're not allowed to post about Jesus anymore, I don't really see a reason to get rid of it, because it's such a good way to tell people about him. My dad said this a couple of days ago. We were talking about, like, deleting Instagram and Facebook and stuff just because of the censoring that's going on, which is just kind of, I don't know. Maybe I'll get taken down for saying this, whatever. But he said, like, you might as well go down, like, fighting, you know? Like, instead of just deleting it, you might as well go down, like, proclaiming the truth, you know? So that's kind of what I'm trying to do here, and what I'm encouraging you guys to do is just use it for good. We have an opportunity to preach to literally the entire world. Not everyone's gonna listen, we know that. But one person that does end up listening, and one person that does, like, take what we're preaching, is one more person in heaven with God in the end. So works for me. And I'm not saying that we need social media to do this either. You know, you can evangelize by just talking to your siblings or your friends at school. Like, you don't need social media. But I'm just saying, if you have an opportunity like that, it just seems kind of like a waste to not use it to me. So instead of being anxious and fearful about what the future of our country is, what the future of our world is, just remember that God says literally so many times in the Bible, do not be afraid. And God does not give us the spirit of fear. It's not from him. God's on our side, and therefore literally the world and all of its evil brokenness doesn't stand a chance against our God. And to be quite frank, if you don't claim God as your defender and you're the leader of your spiritual army, you're gonna lose. So cling on to him tightly, because he's got it in the bag, okay? This past week, I got to go to Chicago with my friends, and I vlogged it because why not? It was fun. So if you guys want to watch that, go for it. And thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys soon. One more day, he will make a way. Let him show you how you can lay this down. Oh, not yet.
Should have sat by a window.
I know. Hey, how did we get to London so quick? How'd we get to London? I don't know. There it is. It's London. It's the Big Ben Tower. Yeah, it is.
Wait, you're supposed to put your hand on it?
It scans him.
Oh. Do it again. Do it again. Maybe you'll get a different one. There you go.
Whoa.
Beautiful.
You ever know these tubes? They lead to every spot. Like they.
You're less ridden by that guilt that gnaws at you and shame.
Car ride home vlog.
By saying,
Looking fresh.
that's guilt voiced.
Fresh out of Chicago. Mwah. Am I right? Am I right? Totally. You're gonna say hi to Mr. Semi Man. Ready? Ready? You're gonna say hi. Mr. Semi is about to go on YouTube. Oh, oh. Oh, he's on YouTube. Bye. Radical. Thanks for watching. Peace to all, and to all a good night.